Clients ask me, what makes a healthy culture in the corporate environment and how can I create one? So I'd like to share with you what I usually tell them. And I think of 3 skills when I'm answering and responding to this, and I'll go through those today. They're all in the interrelationship composite of the EQI 2.0. So first and foremost, employees need to have the freedom to be able to speak their mind, share their opinion, and even take action without fear of being shamed, blamed, judged, or criticized for what their new idea might be, or what they've tried to implement, or what they've come up with. Now, we know that not all ideas will be able to be embraced and adopted and incorporated into the company. However, it's really important, even though, to create a safe psychological space so that people feel free to float new ideas. And then if you can't adopt one of the new ideas because it's not practical or it's not in line with the mission or the vision or the strategy of the company, as a leader, do you take the time to explain that to the employee so they know and understand that maybe their idea was a good one and they should keep coming up with new ideas and they should be encouraged to speak freely their opinions, but explain to them why their idea might not be able to be adopted at this time. So when you've got a culture where people feel the freedom to share without retribution or something negative coming back to them in response, you've got a culture that's more free and healthy, because you never know when your latest and greatest new idea is going to show up, from where or from whom. So why not create a culture that encourages people to strive higher, to try to stretch themselves? So a lot of times that's the skill of interpersonal relationships that will foster that, because you want to have relationships that are healthy and in balance. So relationships that are mutual give and take, where they're reciprocal, I'm giving as much as you're giving, or I'm sharing as much as you're sharing, I'm carrying the load as much as you are carrying the load, so that you're operating, the leaders in the company are operating as if in partnership with the employees. And I know that might, be a new idea to some people, and it might not be tried and true and tested in your company, but I encourage you to give it a chance. Do it as an experiment and see what happens. You might actually find out that your employees become more productive. Probably you will find that out. When employees become more productive, your company often becomes more profitable. So having appropriate boundaries too, I think, is essential in a corporate culture. People want to share some about their personal lives, but not too much about their personal lives. So for instance, if a leader or an employee is going through a divorce, it would be appropriate, I think, to let people know, hey, I might be off a little bit because I'm going through a very difficult or painful time in my life. Or maybe somebody in the family is very ill and you're going through that kind of a scare. But you don't want to come in every day and tell too much. You don't want to come in and give the details, the nitty-gritty about how this divorce is affecting you. That would be inappropriate sharing. So keeping the sharing appropriate within boundaries that shield people from too much or too little of personal life bleeding into corporate and work life. It also makes people feel a lot safer when they know that the boundaries are there. The other skill would be empathy, being able to have a curious attitude about different perspectives that different people would have. Wanting to be able to listen without becoming personally triggered, and to be able to say, please tell me more about that. I'm very curious to know how you see it that way. You don't have to agree with the way that the person sees it. Yet you, if you reflect back, oh, I understand how you might see it that way. You're going to make that person feel a lot more comfortable. They'll feel seen, heard, and understood, which actually increases sharing and communication and thus collaboration. Having also the skill of social responsibility, that might mean I care as much about the company goals, or I care as much about the goals of my team as I care about me accomplishing my own goals. So you're not just out for yourself, you're also out for the team or the group or the company. And there's again that partnership, that equal give and take between, caring about yourself and caring about the mission and the vision and the people. I think a company always has to balance, how do we pay attention to the bottom line and the number goals we have to meet, or the KPIs, while also caring about the needs of the people in the company. Sometimes those can be seeming like they're at odds or at different extremes. There's always a way, though, to meet in the middle. There's always a way to take both into account and compromise and come up with something that's mutually acceptable. So keeping the skills of interpersonal relationships, social responsibility, and empathy in mind, creating boundaries in the company with relationships, having very clear vision and goals, giving people the freedom to speak up, to be themselves. This all goes a long way to increasing productivity, and then, of course, profitability and happiness. It's well proven and well researched that a happy culture is often a more productive culture. And it certainly is a richer culture, which makes the workplace so much more fun and easy to enjoy going into work every day, whether you work at home or in person.